Hello and welcome to AMZ TV. It's your girl Ameze back on your screen. Thank you so much for joining me today. And I'm so excited because the person I have hanging with me today is my very dear friend, someone I've known over the years, and someone I have, admired so much because he has accomplished so much. And for those of you who have been watching or following my channel, she's been on my channel and she's also been on my podcast. And one thing that I did mention to you guys, I was going to bring her back. And today is the D-Day. I've decided, she's a very busy lady. So today was the day we picked that, she can hang with me and hang with us. And we're going to be talking about certain topic. The big one is sexual assault and rape, something she's not hidden from anyone. She's made her story very clear to those who are listening or anyone reading. And so today I've always wanted her to come back. Again, you all know how I feel about this topic. I ask my guests and I have talked about it as it relates to me. And even some of the newspapers have carried my story. But anyway, without, delaying further, I'm going to bring her on. And this Evelyn Obahor. Hey.
Sorry, I'm in the kitchen. You took me out.
I know. Okay, something I didn't tell them.
Yeah,
I caught her just because she just got back from set and she's trying to fix something for herself. I'm like, nope, it's almost time. They'll be waiting for you. They need to, see you, hear you, and give their own 2 cents. But thank you so much for honoring my invitation. You know how much I love you and respect you.
I love you too. Thanks for having me. I'm sure I love you more.
Oh, please, girl. Let's not go there. I love you too much. But the thing is, we're going to talk as two mature women we've known ourselves for more than almost 30 years, actually. We're both in, entertainment business. And we already have some people here saying hello. We have Esther and we have Boyega. They're saying hello to you. And
Hi, Esther. Hi, Boyega. How you all doing? Hope you're keeping safe.
They've been safe. So just a little background. I mean, your TV personality, people see you today, presenter, host of Just Eve, which is your show, Your Baby. You've produced, TV shows, movies. I mean, this is what you do. I remember when I first set eyes on you, and I've told you this before, it was night shift, wasn't it? It was night shift.
Yeah.
As a night shift,
Night
yes.
shift,
Oh my
yes.
God. You just blew everyone away. The poise, the comedic timing, it was nice. It was different and it was nice. So just a little bit background for those who are wondering, who is Eve Obahor? What give us a little bit background. How did you come? So I'm going to ask you this question twofold. Okay. So the first one is, how did you get into entertainment, show business, if you will? However, I'm also going to ask you about your childhood. So let's just talk about how you started first, getting into this.
Okay. This is a difficult one because whenever people ask me this question, it's quite difficult to answer. But right from the time I could think, I knew that I was going to do I was going to be in the entertainment industry, but what area I didn't know, And then I went through secondary school. I could write. I started writing plays and scripts from the age of 7. When we go into my background, I'll tell you how that came about. Okay. So getting into secondary school, I went to Federal Government Girls College of Wari. And from my Form 1 till my Form 4, I wrote the plays for my house. And in those 4 years, every year we won.
Oh,
And
wow.
because of that, I was now made what do they call the drama society prefect.
Perfect.
And and then there was a play we were rehearsing for, for the school and some other school, secondary schools that were going to come and watch. And after that, the rehearsal that evening, there was someone came to me and said somebody back at the back of the hall wanted to see me. So I was wondering who is that, and then I walked up to the person, and guess who it was? James Iroha Giringiri.
Oh,
Yeah.
Giringori.
And then he said, "Come here, come here, come here, come here, come here." So I went to him. I was scared, little me. And then he took my ear and twisted it, and he was like, "I do not want to hear that you do anything else in your life apart from this. You have my blessing." So that stuck. Well, more the pulling of the ear, than anything else. But yeah, like I said, right from the time I could think, I knew that this was what I was going to do. But what area I didn't know at that time.
Right. Interesting. Interesting. Okay. So very quickly, because again, if you go to Evelyn's um website, again, she's not, this is one thing I like about you. You're very real, because the truth of the matter is nothing is new under the sun. But you did have a very painful childhood, right?
Yes.
So could you please share with us exactly what that, because I'm curious and I'm sure as your fans are, what is this painful? Why is it painful?
Oh, okay. I'm the first child of my parents, and
I know that.
being born in England, growing up in England, I was alone quite a lot, and just for my parents to go to work, go to school, and all of that, I had to be given over to foster parents. I was with
Mm,
them for a while. They didn't really do anything bad to me, but it was that sense that I was alone, you know. And when I eventually went back to my parents, there was some kind of cold attitude towards me. And I heard later on somewhere that my mother said she didn't want me. I don't know how far that is true. But as a child, if you're told that kind of a thing, it kind of stuck. And I had this very, very strict mother, very overtly strict mother. You
mm,
know, I will take I would take the brunt for my siblings. So to me it was like I was actually hated. You know, people would say things to me. She would tell me I will never do well, blah 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 blah, and and all of that. So it really, some people might say, oh, we all went through that kind of a thing, but for me it was evident that the love was not for me. It was for my siblings. And that's where I took out my pain in writing.
mm,
Yeah, so I started writing. I was always on my own. I wouldn't play with anybody. I would just stay on my own, stay in my room, and I would be writing, you know. And then growing up from there, what I saw growing up as a child was my parents were always fighting, quarreling. I would see my father beat my mother, they would abuse themselves, not knowing that it was affecting me mentally. Till
mhm,
this day, if somebody slams a door,
mm,
till this day, if somebody slams a door at me, or even if it's not at me, I recline into a shell, because that was all I saw. I would see my mother cry. I would see my father do things that, and to me, that was what life was.
mm.
I couldn't, I didn't think that there was anything else
Right, because
apart
that's
from,
what you saw. Yeah.
yeah, apart from that kind of scenario. When I went off to secondary school, because our family home was in Benin City, I went to Federal Government Girls College, Owerri, and that was a break for me. It's like, okay, I will only get to see these people, you know,
During the holidays, yeah.
during the holidays, you know.
Right.
Yeah, and then when I went on to university, you know, it was like that was in Jos. I never went back home after that, you know,
Okay. Mm.
because I felt alone. I was always miserable. I didn't have enough, right? Because of my parents, you know, their squabbles, their quarrels, they're actually separated. And then it was now very difficult for my mom. So we really didn't have enough at the time. In all fairness to her, she did as much as she could, you know, to put food on our table. We wouldn't have, you know, the fine clothes and all of that. But what she did was make sure that we had food to eat, you know, and I saw her struggle, you know, and I was like, is this what life is all about? I can't, if you ask me how many times, can I count the number of times that I've actually smiled from my soul, from my spirit? I probably would be able to tell you, you know, because everything that I saw growing up was doom and gloom, you know, so it took out, you know, that was where my creativity, you know, probably started. Apart from the fact that I think when I was probably about 6, 7, this was in England here. It had just finished raining, and in our back garden, and there was a pool of water. You know, when the rain leaves the water, then the sun was shining onto the water. And I was so excited. I was in awe. I was saying, oh, you know, and a 7-year-old child said, oh, this is so beautiful. Oh, I love this. And my father came out and was like, what is wrong with you? Come on, get inside the house, you know. But in hindsight, I see that that was God telling me, you are going to be in the creative, you know, endorsing what I had actually thought about, you know. So yeah, growing up from there, becoming a teenager, an adult, with all the disappointments in life, the struggles and everything, it kind of I don't want to use the word introvert. I enjoy my own company. It just made me want to be by myself all the time. You know, in all the places that I have lived as an adult, it's always been very, very quiet. No shops around, no transport, you know, and I'm always happy like that. You know, I tell people that the best place in the world for me is in my bedroom. If you lock me in my bedroom with popcorn and loads of ice cream and movies, and you throw away the key, I would complain. I would love you. I think that that also, you know, stems from my love of being able to cope with night shift, with all the movies that we had to watch. So yeah, it was really, really tough for me. For others who are watching, they might probably not understand, but it informed the kind of person that I am today. For me today, I don't want to see anybody in pain. If I could take away somebody's pain, I would do it. I hate it when I see people crying and I'm not able to put my arms around them, you know, to
Right.
say, all right, you know, if you read some of my posts, it's always about, I always talk about love and how we should be there for people. We shouldn't judge them, you know, and all that. It was basically because of how I was brought up. I hope I'm not rambling. No,
No,
yes.
no, no. I think, well, again, this is the thing people don't realize. This is just my kids become adults, you know, and sometimes, what should I say, most times, it's what you go through as a young child. That's what kind of shapes what you become as an adult, you know. So I'm thinking again, you found a way to cope when you're younger with all that pain. So you internalized, and it was you had to find happiness within, and you know, just your immediate surroundings, and not have to lean on others to bring you happiness. I mean, that this is just my layman's opinion, but that's, oh my god, it's so funny because when you think about your young self, it's, yeah, I can imagine, you know, some of the things you shared kind of reminds me of me, well, the part of especially when you have parents that lived outside the country, and when they had to leave you with guardians or people who were going to foster, raising you. That's something you and I kind of share. And I think for a lot of people are maybe that age group, I'm thinking it was very popular then. You had parents who went abroad to study, had kids, and somehow they got overwhelmed, but later on the kids kind of, the kids they left behind kind of, later on found their parents or met with their parents again. And some didn't. Some never really forged that bond with their parents. So how long were you separated from your parents before you?
I think probably about 4 years.
Mhm. And
But
like,
it's not like I wasn't seeing them. They would
well, you were
come.
not living with them.
No, yeah, I just wasn't living with them. They would come once in a while, and I was the only child for 5 years. So for me, it was like it was a lonely world.
Was
You know,
lonely. You had
yeah.
your make-believe friends to play with.
I would just curl up in bed and write.
Oh, look at
Yeah.
that. Thank you so much for sharing that, because again, that's something I think when you came on my podcast, we didn't visit that. And I'm like, I should have asked her, because again, you never know who's listening. You don't know who's sharing those, kind of history with you, or someone who just needs somebody else to validate, what they went through and how they are, and it's okay. So just to say a quick shout out to people here, we've got, again, there's Boyega, there's Esther, there's Farida, there's Dee, there's Anita, and there's Bess. Hey guys, thank you so much for coming. Oh, Marianne. Yeah, Marianne. Hi, Marianne. Okay. Hey, sister. Thank you so much for coming. It's always nice when people support,
Yeah.
come out. It's from the bottom of my heart. Thank you so much. And I'll go forget to. So, Miss, again here, we're talking to Miss Evelyn Obahor, a very prominent, visible TV personality who's got her own shows. She's got her own production company and what have you. And right now, she's actually taking time to speak to us because she's actually on set doing her thing. And of course, she had to also quickly get something to eat. That's why she's in her kitchen because I caught her just
I
before
don't
we
eat a lot. I don't eat a lot. So
But you have to snack. You have to snack. You have to eat. Okay. So, and then you went to Joss. Joss. Oh my goodness.
just the ground.
It was just like, it was the place for a lot of people who were in the theater arts. So were there people that you went to school with at that time that you're still friends with, or?
Not that I can remember, but I know that Evelyn Ikwenabe,
Mhm.
you interviewed her a couple of, who else?
Yeah.
Can't really remember. Okay, there's Kayode Ogundamisi, but he's a journalist. Can't remember. Can't really remember.
Well,
But yeah, the having left school, worked with Evelyn, worked with Enel Lodja, Matt Dazi,
oh my God. Those are all the Just crew. Again,
yeah,
Peter Hugo coming
Sadiq
from the,
Daba,
oh my goodness, girl.
yeah, Steve Gukas, Frankie Yoga, yeah, who were all, worked in one way or the other. Sani
Yeah.
Waisu, Awalu, Salihu,
Oh, you're
uh,
doing quite well.
yeah,
I mean, to remember all these people, good for you. Because, I mean, at a point, it was all about Joss.
yes.
Everything coming from Joss.
Cochrane Dawn, Mirror in the Sun,
Behind the Clouds. I mean,
yeah.
come on. There's a name I'm actually trying to remember. She was in Behind the Clouds too. She's actually in the UK. But, there was just, it was just like it was the place. They were all just coming. So, very quickly, again, one of the things why we're here today is she has shared the story before, Actually, when I was, you shared it on my podcast, you shared it here on AMZ TV, and I think we had actually Uwa. Anita was on with me. Hello, Anita. She's here right now.
Hi, Anita.
And then you talked about it. So please tell us how this rape happened to you. What happened?
At the time, this was when I was in DBN. I was working on a project, and I was looking for sponsors. And there was this guy, he used to work at Coca-Cola then, who was in their marketing department, and yeah, said he would be able to help. Wanted me to to bring certain things to him, that I should bring them to his house, gave me his address and everything. So I just went innocently that evening. As I got into the house, there wasn't even any sit down or anything like that. The next thing, he just grabbed my neck.
Hmm.
And I was like, but before then, I knew that he was somebody who wanted to date me. Well, I'm sure what he wanted was, he just wanted to have sex with me, seeing me on telly, saying this, this fine girl and stuff. And I would always rebuff him. So he just, held my neck and said, do you know I can give you exactly what you want right now, right? But you're going to have to give me something. So I was shocked, because that was the last thing I expected to see and to hear. And then I said, do you want to rape me? And he said, yes. And the next thing, he just tore my shirt and pushed me down, and then had his way and everything. And the shock, the experience, he actually, no, he now said I should get out of his house. But because I was in a state of shock, I couldn't move. And he said, if I don't move right now, I'm getting my former guards, they will come and have their way. And then he starts to call, shout their names. And then gradually, I'm able to leave the house, and he slams the door, at me. And then I just stood. Honestly, till this day, I don't know where the strength came from. I hope I'm not going to cry, but I just looked up and I said, God, this incident is not going to affect the way my life is going to turn out. And then I gathered, the strength came, and I just left. And then I went straight to church, because it was close by to Bethel Ministries at the time. And I met this female pastor, and I told her what had happened to me. And then she looked at me and said, do you know what? This is your fault. The Holy Spirit has told me that this is your fault. And I said, that made me very angry. Very, very angry, and I just stormed out of her office. And I was saying, how could this have been my fault? How could it have been my fault? Was I not dressed properly? And I must be very honest with you. I was wearing a pair of black jeans and my brother's black shirt. So it wasn't like I was scantily dressed or anything, assuming that could be a valid point. And then I got home, and my brother, whose shirt I was wearing, he saw me with a torn shirt and said, what's happening? And then I just burst out. I'd been raped. And then he was now mad. He just started breaking things and all of that. But I went to sleep. No, I didn't sleep. It was very difficult for me to sleep. Of course, I went to try and scrub everything away. Doesn't really happen like that, does it? And then the following day, I just got on with my work. Nobody knew what happened. I didn't tell anybody. I just went on with the job that I had to do.
Wow.
Yeah, and then a couple of years after, when of course then I had relocated to the UK. And I had this, it was nagging me like no man's business, nagging me that you need to speak about this thing, you need to speak about this thing. And then I began to talk about it. I was interviewed in Canada on a radio show there, and then Sunny Arabo interviewed me. And then I think when it was aired, my boss, my former boss at DBN, got to hear of it, and he called me. I actually thought that he was gonna, to tell me, oh, how sorry it was that it happened, blah blah blah. But the next thing he just said was, "Why did you mention that you were in DBN? Why didn't you come and tell me when it happened? I should never ever mention this." And I was like, "Really?" And I said, "Oh, I thought you called me to commiserate with me. I'm going to end this call now, with all due respect." And I ended the call. I haven't spoken to him or spoken to anybody, but it was an eye opener for me. Um, it happens to a lot of women and men, and they don't talk about it. And I kind of understood why. The stigma, placed around it. So many things happen. Yeah.
Right. And we're actually going to come to that. Because, and thank you so much. We have Anita saying, Evelyn, we applaud your courage to tell your story. Because it's really not, like Evelyn is saying, there's a reason why people don't talk about it. For one thing, you become a pariah, which it's interesting because why? Because you want people to, you wouldn't think people would do that to you, but it seems people blame the victim, okay, which is a word we're going to talk about it. We don't want to be called that word, and then, but another interesting thing, which I cannot.
Sorry to interrupt you. Sorry to interrupt you. I always have to interrupt people who talk about us being victims. We are not victims. We are survivors.
Survivors. Okay.
Survivors. I just had to, because a lot of people will come out and say, "Oh, you're a victim of rape." I'm not a victim of rape. I'm a survivor of rape, and we all are.
Okay. And that's what I was saying, like I totally agree with you, and that's the truth, But something I did take away from what you just said is this thing of you spoke to a woman, that was the first person after, leaving the scene of the where it happened, because it was a crime. And the first person you're going to run to, I mean, you're thinking, is a church. Okay, they're held above, normal standard, if you will. And then it was a woman. It's like, oh, thank God she will understand. And this is the part that gets me. Why in heaven's name do you think she put the blame on you? I want you to, what's your thought? Why do you think she put the blame on you?
That's a very difficult one. The society in which we live in, the culture, our culture, those kind of things are not supposed to happen to a woman. You are defiled, right? So if anything has happened to you, it is your fault, be it from a man or from a woman. But coming from a woman makes it even harder and worse, because she is a woman herself, and she has, well, from my my little thinking, she would never put herself in that kind of situation to experience what I experienced. But forgetting that it could happen to anybody. Men get raped, children get raped, So to me, I see it as a cultural thing. I have this little organization where, I help, we just help ourselves, survivors of rape. And I remember one of them had said to me that she was first raped by her cousin at 9 years old. And when she told her mom beat her and said she should never, ever mention that kind of thing again. So she didn't. And when she was in her 20s, she was raped again by an armed robber. And she didn't say anything to anybody until about 12 years later when she spoke to me. So it's a cultural thing. who it doesn't happen to would never ever imagine that it will happen to them until it happens to me. In all sincerity, I would never have imagined that that kind of thing would happen to me, but it did. So I think a man would even be much more sympathetic.
Why do you think that is? Why do you think that is? That a man will be more sympathetic than women? Why? Because that seems to lend um, a voice to the truth. Men tend or have tended to be more, hearing from other women, men seem to be more sympathetic than women. Why?
Well, because they're men. I'm coming because they're men, and they're supposed to look after women. If we look at it from the from the natural thing, when you get married to, you are supposed to look after, you're supposed to look after the women.
Mm-hmm.
If you also notice that fathers are more protective of their daughters than they are of their sons. Mm-hmm. And because they can also, how do I put this now without being controversial? They know these things. They know how their sexual being works. If I'm trying to make sense, so they know that a man has already stripped a woman, in his mind before so a man knows that he is wired in that way to see a woman as a kind of sexual kind of thing first. Not all men, but so they could understand more. But a woman doesn't have that. One to have for a woman, it's like, how could you, fellow woman, let yourself get involved in this kind of thing? And it's all in the head, it's all in the mind. It's also how women are also kind of wired. It's like there's very little solidarity among women when it comes to that kind of thing. You hear people say, you allowed this thing to happen to you. I can never let it happen to me. Am I mad? Am I crazy? And when they talk like that, I laugh.
Can
Because
never let it happen. Like someone gives permission to get raped.
yeah,
Wow.
Because you don't have a clue. And I always, it's like, if you don't know, just keep quiet. Keep quiet. So that those are the reasons I think why women are not as sympathetic as men. That makes sense?
To me, it's just something I'm trying to wrap my head around it because I really don't understand women not being empathetic. I mean, the sympathy, well, because again, they don't share that experience. But if someone comes to you and tells you a sub story, you are going to feel bad, won't you? So why is it different with rape or sexual assault?
Okay, I'll give you an example, something out of this. A woman, and this is my personal view, well, before I started getting enlightenment and all of that. Mm-hmm. When you find that a woman is abused by a man, her husband, for me, Evelyn Obahor, I'm like, why are you staying? Those are the questions that I normally ask. This guy he's going to kill you. Why are you still here? I'm a woman. I'm asking a fellow woman that kind of a question. But I do not know the reasons why she is leaving. I don't know the extent of the abuse. It's only in the last couple of years that when I got to do research and all of this, why does a woman stay with a man who batters her literally every day? One, low self-esteem, those kind of things. I'm only just beginning to understand because we're now in an age of social media where we see everything, But with rape, it's also that stigma is still there. We are still a long way away from people speaking out about their experiences with rape. we are a very, very long way from that, from how far abuse has come. When it comes to rape, we are still very, very far,
Mm.
still very far from it. Because I know I was about to date a guy, and we're just talking one day, we're talking about ourselves, kind of getting to know yourselves. And when I mentioned the rape, he said to me, "Do you know this changes everything?" And I was like, "Thank God, good riddance to bad rubbish." So it's like, it's still there. Some women are like, "What's the point? Nobody's going to believe me."
Yeah.
you know Even though you see it glaring there,
Yeah.
they're not going to believe you.
Well,
you
the
know
thing is, even if they do believe you, they blame you. They blame you. You know, it's always tied to is the way you look. Sometimes it's even your shape. I mean, it's like it's the woman is blamed. Or again, men don't talk about rape anyway, which is interesting because when they do, everyone thinks that they're not men enough. Let's go ahead and read some of the comments we have here. Of course, Anita has applauded your courage to tell your story. Esther also says, "Wow, you're getting her respect because rape is a thing that when it happens to someone, it's so tough to wipe out. It hurts a lot." And then you have Boyega, who's a guy. Is that under no circumstances should a man see a woman as a sexual object. I always opine that rape is a beastly thing, is a stubborn problem that requires a stubborn solution. So that actually brings me to I'm gonna go there. Like, what do you think? Because if you really look at it, it's not. I mean, you mentioned cultural, but it's actually a universal problem.
Hmm.
Just not too long ago, and I think I shared this with. I don't know if I shared it with you, but I shared it with another friend of mine, maybe Anita. It was somewhere in the Middle East. A guy was found to have raped a young child, and I think, first of all, they cut off his stuff and then they shot him right there and then hung him. And I know people have talked about, yeah. I think Evelyn, the other Evelyn, was saying, Evelyn Okonebe was saying that, yeah, because, and this made me laugh. She's like, in the Bible, it says that if your hand or something causes you to sin, cut that part off. So if his, male genitalia is causing him to sin, then clearly, he can do without it. However, it was interesting that your former boss said what he said, and that's another thing people do. Is like and that's why people don't come out. Like you telling the story and also me listening to you, I'm thinking he was probably calling to show his shock, like, oh my goodness, this happened. Oh my God, and, put his arms around you, even if it's virtually, but it was about the business. People do that. Why do you think that is? Why was it about protecting the business as opposed to
Yes,
protecting?
you've answered it yourself. To protect the business, to protect the shame that this incident would bring to my organization. It's all about the stigma, the business. I go here and I hear that, oh, this kind of thing happened in your organization, and it wasn't in his organization. It
That's what
wasn't
I'm
in
saying. It
the
wasn't even on the
environment.
ground.
It
Yeah.
wasn't in the office environment. But for the fact that it has happened to someone and your organization was mentioned, do you understand? So we are a bunch of, please forgive me for saying this, we are a bunch of myopic people. We have the saying that don't don't condemn somebody until you walk in their shoes. We don't have that mentality. We just say it. I was talking to I had an argument with my pastor about something, and he was like, you should, yeah, I think it had something to do with mental health issues. And he's from a background, I know his story, who, he's been through a lot. And so he's really manned up also. And his wife is also, she's a woman she has been on her own literally all her life. And she doesn't have to, she has to figure out everything on how to live, how to survive. And I said, no, you can't say because you were able to, another person is unable to. You understand? I lost my brother, right? Somebody else could lose his brother. I'm sure many have, under the same circumstances. But the way we react to the death is different. Some people would laugh and joke and remember all the fun sides of him. Another one would not be able to get up from, their seats. So, it's all, and when I say cultural, I don't mean particularly in Africa or in other, it's a global thing,
The
but
global
culture.
culture. Yeah.
Yeah. If in England where I live, right, the Church of England was what, they brought Christianity to Africa, right? So those kind of things were what we were taught. But the irony of it, we've had stories and stories of people who have survived rape from the Church of England.
Of
There've been
course.
so many stories, especially recently in the last couple of years. Oh, this one comes out to say, I was raped by one priest. That one, even men, So it's a global cultural thing that this is something that you should not talk about. Now, institutions, organizations are saying you must speak about it. And I'm saying also that we must speak out about it. But that, to me personally, it's just 1/10 of the issue. We all talk about that. You even said it just now, how they cut his genitals off and stuff like that. But assuming those genitals were still there, right? There's a tendency that he could do it again. He could be a serial rapist. And I'll tell you what I personally think is to get to the nitty-gritty of why they do what they do, right? Nobody was born a rapist. Nobody was born a pedophile. Nobody was born an armed robber. There is usually something that triggers it, that takes it in them. And if we have to trace it, we go back to their childhood. Something has happened to them in their childhood. Probably they've seen maybe their mother being raped or something. Sometimes it's they've been unable to control something that goes on, so they seek power. It could be that they're afraid of something, and they need to be in control, right? It's something that is, and when I say this, people people say, how can you say that kind of a thing? And I say, yes, I can say it because we can go on from now to the end of time talking about the survivors, how they've managed, how they've not managed. I just told you somebody has been raped twice, although by different people, So the guy that, did it to me, I don't know where he is, but only God knows how many other people, other women he has done it to. Nobody knows, So when you're saying I am going to speak out about it, report it, it goes beyond you and I talking about it here or on your show. It actually, something has to be done. Imprison them, fine, so that they don't do it again. But go and check on their psychology, the psychology of their mind.
Evaluate their psyche.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. I hear you. Something I want to quickly ask you because, I had also shared my story for those who haven't heard this before. I'm just going to quickly slip it in here. And again, I didn't talk about it. See, this is the thing. When people are not, I'm going to ask Evelyn, how, from the time that you were raped to when you made it public, How long was it?
Oh, oh dear, that could probably be up to like 20 years or so. How
Okay.
long have I been here and how, oh, yeah, it could be about 20 years or more,
Okay.
you know. And if I didn't get that nagging feeling, trust me, I wouldn't have said anything about it. The only person that knew was my brother.
Okay. So, and there's a reason why I ask you that, because not too long ago I started sharing mine. I was sexually assaulted my final year at the University of Benin, and I graduated in '88. That's a long time ago. So, and then a newspaper actually had carried it, and some were like, "Oh, why are you coming out and saying it now?" Well, this is the thing people need to understand. Usually, when things like that happen to you, there are people who do know. It's not, I mean, I can assure you right now, for want of a better word, there's no better word for stupid people who again is all this victim shaming. I know we don't use the word victim, but for the purpose of me explaining this, that's what it is. Things happen to you, you were at the receiving end, and you were like, oh, it's taking all this long, why coming out now? What? And that's the thing, people, and that's also one of the reasons why people don't talk, because you're not going to believe them. One, you're going to blame them. And I can tell you now, even when it happened to Evelyn, in my situation, my best friend knew, and her uncle. Okay, I even had a boyfriend then. I don't think I told him, because if I had, he probably would have done something to that person. Do you see what I'm saying? This is how we think. And the reason why it could stop ish, because it was like just sexual harassment, and it was my best friend then in college had to call her uncle and told him, because they're all lecturers. So he's like, oh, I'm going to go talk to him that this is my niece, that I'm his niece. This is a no-go. Don't go there. Do you see what I'm saying? So in other words, this is what they all do. Okay. But he was going to tell his friend, and he did. He came to the office where I was. And for those that were in school with me then probably know, I haven't called his name, but I'm sure one day I'm gonna, but people always like, why are you coming out now? What people need to understand is, when those things happen, there are people around you who know. And some of those people are telling you, look, it's a losing battle. Why are you talking about it?
Yeah.
And you don't want to be shamed. Don't talk about it. Don't let anyone know. Evelyn just told us now, some guy she was dating, when she shared the story with him, she didn't get any support. He was like, oh, this changes everything. Because there are still men with pin brain, a mush brain. And this is how they think. This is how people think. Parents will tell you too, shh, don't talk about it. Again, because they don't want, because the world is cruel. So if anyone, it doesn't matter. I remember even not too long ago, I live in the United States, and when the president we have now, and it's not the only one, there have been people coming into position of power or public office where women who accuse them, and they're like, really, it's been 40 years, you're coming out now? But yes, you come out now because then again you've grown in confidence. Do you see what I'm saying? And the 18, 19, 20-year-old does not remain that. People judge you for who you are. People see me now and say, oh, really? Now you're coming out? But yeah, when it happened to me, I was barely a young adult. Do you see what I'm saying? And this person has your life in his hands. So that's just the way it works. So for those idiots, because that's what I call them, who see a 60, 70-year-old woman coming out and say, oh, well, when I was 25 or when I was 18, this happened to me. That was what she was then. At 70, it's taking her that long. That is what people should look at. Why does it take people that long to come out and talk about it? Don't look at an 80 or 70 or 60-year-old and say, really, who's going to be attracted to you? Please, you're not. That 60-year-old was once young, So this is one thing that people talk about. And that's why I asked you, how long did it take you before you said yours? And it really pisses me off. It pisses me off when people say that, And you have to remember, there was no social media then. For those people who are not thinking, there was no social media. You tell your immediate, I can tell you whoever was sexually assaulted or raped, their family members who know, their close friends who know, their classmates who know, your immediate circle would know. And they're the same people who tell you, honey, you can't fight this. Let it go. You want to go on to get married. Put it behind you. You don't want your boyfriend to leave you. You don't want your parents to bring shame to your parents. You see what I'm saying? Because it happened to you. It's just one of those things. Anyway, so what do you think should be done? Do you believe that they should be castrated? They should be I mean, how do you feel now looking back? Have you forgiven your
Oh yes, yes, long time ago.
wow.
I don't want to hold myself bound by that kind of thing. I've forgiven him, and it was more to free myself. I didn't want to have him haunt me for the rest of my life. If I didn't forgive him, it would be like, oh, that bastard. Oh, he would be there. He's not physically there, but he's there.
That
And
power is holding
yeah,
that.
I didn't want to have him to have that power over me. I wanted, like I said, I had to get on with my life. So yeah, I forgave him. I prayed that he would get help,
Mm.
because he does need help. And for all of them out there, all the rapists, they all need help. They need help. And I will
What do you
insist,
mean help? What kind of help? What are you talking about?
I maintain and insist that they have to get psychological help, because that's where it is. That's where it comes from. I refuse to accept that there are crazy people out there. Yes, there are crazy people out there, but it all stems from something. Someone might have been raped as a child, and he's sworn that he's going to get his revenge, and goes on this mission. you know Something could have happened to him where he was powerless as a child, and, oh, how can I get power? How can I get power? Let me grab a woman and exert my power. As painful and as sad as it is, these things, they need that. I'm not using the word therapy. I'm using the word psychological,
Mhm.
because it's in the head. you know After that, well, yes, imprison them, and I say catch and imprison them so that they don't do it to somebody else. But while they're in prison, or wherever, let them begin to get that psychological, you know well-being.
Mm.
Otherwise, we're just going to be here and talk forever, like
Mhm.
we're talking now, and it
Mm.
will still happen.
Mm.
I
Okay.
cannot get my head around a full-grown man
All right.
raping a 3-year-old. What kind of sexual pleasure is he going to get from that?
I don't know. I don't know. Just to read some of the comments, Anita says the forgiveness is definitely for you, so you can move on. He does not get his punishment now. We know that his sins will catch up with him. And then we also have Boyga, who seems to be the only guy here. And he says, I think the bulk actually wants, Evelyn, you're going to respond to this. He says, I think the bulk of the sensitization task lies in encouraging people, that is, those that it's happened to, use in quotes, um, victims, to speak up immediately, no matter how hard it may seem at that moment. What do you think about that?
Well, he can say that because it's not an experience that he's had. It's very easy. I mean, it's like, it's not something that you can really describe. Somebody defiles you,
Mhm.
has and when we talk about someone defiling you, it's more than the physical.
Yeah, and that is so true because the person's played with your mind. Somebody,
Yes,
yeah,
he's taking your mind spiritually. He has taken something from you as well. Like it or not, believe it or not, it's very, very easy for anybody to say, speak out about it now. You know, it's oh, okay. A very simple a very simple thought.
Yeah.
If a woman comes into a man's house with a stick or whatever, who has the training, who has lived with that training all his life, never to raise a hand at a woman. And here is this woman coming in and taking one heavy thing and whacking his head and beating him and slapping him. What is he going to do? Is he going to go to his friend and say, oh boy, this woman just beat the hell out of me yesterday? He won't. Why don't men talk about their mental state?
You know,
Because they're supposed to be men.
I was just going to answer my own answer to Boyga's comment also is why don't men come out and say they're raped? They're raped, man.
Exactly.
Want to come out?
Mm.
They don't come out. Nobody. They don't come out. That's just the way it is. It's the way society has makes you feel. You're not because you're blamed. So and everybody comes to their truth at their own time. Esther Yemere says in a situation where when the rape occurred and the survivor goes to the police to report. Unfortunately, it was a female police officer. She's sharing a story who turned the victim down, told her, please, again, these are things. Jose family, thank you for coming. I appreciate that. So that's the thing, people not talking about it. So this is what I want you to quickly speak to, because you do have an organization that actually supports and empowers women, not necessarily young women, but women that have been through this ordeal, this horror. Speak to survivors, men and women, how to deal with situations like this, especially in this era we live in now where I don't know, people attacking you for not speaking out immediately, or it's something, because even till now, people still blame people on what they're wearing. So it's, speak to people who've been through this ordeal. What's your advice?
Okay, first and foremost, there's nothing wrong with you. There's absolutely nothing wrong with you. There is absolutely, it doesn't matter if you are naked, if you are dressed up to your neck. Anybody who sexually assaults you or rapes you or touches you without your consent is wrong. If it has happened, take your time. Nobody should tell you that, oh, this thing happened 20 years ago. You should have come out of it by now. If it takes you 100 years, it won't, just take your time to heal. Don't rush it. Don't rush it at all. I would always say it should be what works for you.
Mm-hmm.
We're still in an age where we find it difficult to report, cases. But if you have the strength to, do report it. And don't keep quiet about it. In short, for anything in life that bothers you, you shouldn't keep quiet about it, not to talk of something as grave as this. Open up about it. Even if the person you are talking to does not do anything or blames you or whatever, let it just be on record that you've spoken out about it. And then, okay, like I said, take your time. We're all beautiful people. We have a fantastic life ahead of us. We can still do things. We can still make an impact. We can still change the world. We are strong people. The fact that we are here today just says it all, that we are strong and we can do this. But let's continue to make noise about it. Bring in all spheres of everyone that can do something about it. It all starts from reorienting the mind. We have to change our mindset, and we can only continue to do this. Like, for instance, I heard that they've disbanded SARS. And that's because a group of people have come out to say no, and stuck to it. It's one thing to come out and, talk and make noise and then just go and sleep. We need to start to talk more about it. We need to create awareness about it. And for those, with all due respect, there are a lot of organizations out there who deal with cases like this. Fair enough, doing a fantastic job. But I tend to see that not all of them, some of them are mechanical. They say A is your first step, B is your second step, C is your third step. And I'm like, come on, you're not in this person's shoes. You don't know what happened. How can you say, oh, the first step is for you to do A, the second step is for you to do B? And I'm like, supposing the person can't do A, not to talk of move to step B, So I think there should be a gathering, organizations where we have survivors themselves, who talk. This is my experience. That is my experience. Then we have the psychologists who come in to examine the different experiences that we have and say, okay, this is what I think we should do. The police need to come in. The judicial system needs to come in. The society as a whole needs to come in, Otherwise, we'll just keep talking.
And that is so true. I mean, that I don't even know what to add to that, because the thing is, we just have to keep talking. We have to put our money where our mouth is. If you haven't walked in someone's shoes, excuse me, if you haven't walked in someone's shoes, you're definitely, you can speak for them. However, you can empathize. Someone tells you a sad story. There's no one, this is what I tell people, no one's going to tell you they're raped or sexually assaulted or molested in one way and want to take that risk of being branded and made fun of. And that is the truth. Now, that's not to say people don't accuse people wrongly. It happens. But then that's the exception, because people also say that, like, yeah, women tend to want this because, they just want you to. I don't listen to people like that, because it doesn't matter. There will always be exceptions, but that shouldn't negate the fact that there are true people it's happened to. I'm trying not to use the word victims, but because Evelyn is not playing, it's survivor. But Evelyn, it's been so nice. Thank you so much for sharing your story. I really do, because it's something that, and that's why I do this, because it doesn't matter how long it's taken you. It shouldn't define you. Eventually you walk in your own truth, and you're going to speak your truth, when you're able to. And usually it almost always comes with when you're older, because that's the time that, you're not that scared little girl anymore. You're not that scared little boy anymore. And that's why you see full-grown men who have been raped by Catholic priests coming up in their 40s, in their 50s, sometimes in their 60s and 70s. Why? Because, again, then you've come to an age where, you cannot be easily intimidated, right? So that's how I see it. So for those who say, oh, why aren't people doing this? Why, it's hogwash. I don't believe in that. So again, I want to thank you. I want to thank all of those that have been here. I've got to put on my glasses to be able to read. So thank you. Welcome, Joseph Obi Shalewa, saying this is great. We should keep up the great work. Well, thank you. We're making a big difference. Thank you. I appreciate that. And Michelle has been sending you love.
Love you, Michelle.
And she's like, well done for having the courage to speak up. Thank you for encouraging the encouraging words to do the same. Creating awareness is definitely the first step. Keeping it visible is key. And that is true, and that's why I'm asking people to, especially, you see, they hear you talk, they hear me talk, they hear other people talk. They're like, oh, okay. Oh, it's not that bad. It's bad, but it shouldn't define me. It doesn't, I mean, this is the era where people, this is silly, but people's videotape leaks out and they become billionaires. So what are we talking about? You know what I'm saying? So it's not the worst thing. Like, it's bad. I shouldn't say that. I was trying to make light of it, but um yeah, Michelle's like, love you too. Love you, girl. Thank you all for coming and supporting Evelyn and I. Evelyn, I really have to thank you. I do, because you are very brave. You're very brave. You've been on talk shows. You've talked about it. You are also one of the people that kind of encouraged me to also walk in my truth. And it can be frustrating. It's not easy to come out and put a face to your voice like, hey, it happened to me. What now? You know what I mean? Like, I'm still me, and I am fierce. I'm a queen. You see what I'm saying? Yes. And that's what it is. And for those men out there, it also doesn't malign your masculinity, because I know things that guys have to deal with is people are thinking, oh, they've got to be gay. If they were violated by a man, they start to question their own sexuality. And then, of course, God forbid you were raped by a woman. Oh, please, he's not a man. You see, that's why people don't, how many men come out? And it does happen to men.
Mm-hmm.
I know guys who have shared with me when they were younger, again, they were little boys or teenage boys where they were abused. I've had actually 3 people tell me that, but they can never come out now and say it. And these are people that are married with kids. It's tough because people will question you. People will put you, like under a microscope and wonder, you know. Yeah. So before we go, Evelyn, what's your last word for us, for your fans who've come out to listen, to encourage you? What is your last word for? I know you said the last word. Okay, the last word. I didn't say last word before that. But your
All
last
right.
word now.
Let me just thank everyone who's tuned in or turned in to watch this evening. I love you all. I know that you're just taking time off what you're doing this Sunday evening to to watch and listen to what we've had to say. I just want to encourage everybody. These are very, very hard times, and a lot is going on. Like we're all saying, we have to speak out. So I just want to say, whatever it is, speak to someone. Speak to someone. Whatever issue that you're facing, you never know where your help where your help comes from. So yeah, speak out. Stay in love. It's very important to you know to show love. We find out that there are a lot of people who dress well and look so glam and beautiful, on social media, because that's what they want you to see.
Hmm.
There are things that they are going through behind closed doors that they can't speak about. There was a presenter here that committed suicide. Was it a bit last year or so? She committed suicide because she was battering her boyfriend, and she was trolled on social media. She was about to go to court, and then we found out that she had committed suicide. And she's a top presenter in this country. But nobody knew what she was going through in her quiet corner. We all just see her, looking glamour and all of that. And then my last word is this, and it's just a sign of encouragement, because I believe that there is nothing impossible. Growing up, I was taught that never say you can't. How do you know you can't? When you have not tried. And you have not tried until you have succeeded. So with that, I shut up my big mouth because I talk too much. Put a camera before me and I can talk till tomorrow morning. But yeah, thanks a lot. I love you all, and God bless you all.
God bless you, sister. I love that quote. It's actually on her website, and that's evelynobahor.com, right?
Yeah.
evelynobahor.com. For those of you who want to, please visit her website and She is such a lovely, lovely lady. I love that quote. I always do because it's really unique. It's very unique. Again, guys, thank you so much for hanging in with your girl today. Thank you for coming to AMZ TV. It's your girl Ameze. I'm forever and eternally grateful for those of you who have subscribed to my channel, who turn in day out to just support me, watch my videos, share my videos. Please remember to put the thumbs up, like there's a thumb up sign there. Please click that. And also subscribe for those of you who have not subscribed, and click the notification bell. So every time I come out with videos like this and live chats and live discussions, you actually are aware of it. Thank you all. I love you from the bottom of my heart. For those of you who turned out today, I not go forget. And those that didn't, I not go forget. But Evelyn, thank you so much. I love you,
Thank
girl.
you for having me. Thank you.
And just keep doing what you're doing, and you're much loved. And thank you, guys. So until I come your way again, please be safe. Okay, be kind and be blessed. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye, sis.